Today's update is important and it applies to millions of seniors, retirees, disabled workers, and family members who rely on Social Security each month. Starting February 1st, the Social Security Administration is enforcing a major rule change that affects how your benefits are protected, how your information is verified, and how payments continue without interruption. This is not about panic and it is not about fear, but it is about action. The SSA has made it clear that there is one step that must come first before anything else to avoid delays, suspensions, or unnecessary problems with your monthly check. In this video, we are going to walk through exactly what this change means, why it matters right now, and what older Americans need to understand in simple, clear language so nothing is missed. Social Security is not just another government program. For many households, it is the backbone of monthly income. It pays for rent, groceries, medications, utilities, and basic dignity in retirement. Because of that, even small administrative changes can feel overwhelming. The February 1st rule change is not about reducing benefits, and it is not about cutting checks. It is about how the SSA confirms that the right person is getting the right payment at the right time. Over the past year, the agency has been tightening procedures due to rising fraud, identity theft, and payment errors. These issues do not always make headlines, but they cost the system billions of dollars and create serious stress for beneficiaries when mistakes happen. This new rule is part of a broader effort to prevent those problems before they reach your bank account. The most important thing to understand is that the SSA is putting verification first. Before changes can be made, before certain updates are processed, and before some payments continue smoothly, the agency wants to be sure your information is accurate and current. That includes your identity, your contact details, your banking information, and your eligibility status. Many people assume that once they are approved for Social Security, nothing else is required. In reality, the system depends on ongoing accuracy. If something changes and the SSA does not know about it, even unintentionally, it can trigger delays or flags in the system. One reason this rule change matters now is timing. February is a transition month. Cost of living adjustments have already been applied, payment schedules are shifting for the new year, and many beneficiaries are seeing different deposit amounts than they did last year. When the SSA updates systems at the start of a calendar year, it often introduces new checks and controls at the same time. This February 1st change fits into that pattern. The agency wants to start the year with cleaner records and fewer errors moving forward. For seniors, clarity is critical. Confusion is what causes missed steps, and missed steps are what cause delays. The SSA has emphasized that beneficiaries must make sure their personal information is up to date before taking any other action related to their benefits. That means confirming identity details, making sure contact information is correct, and ensuring that payment methods are accurate. This is especially important for anyone who recently moved, changed banks, updated a direct deposit account, or experienced a change in household status. Another reason the SSA is enforcing this rule more strictly is technology. Over the past several years, the agency has shifted more processes into digital systems. While that can make some things faster, it also means automated reviews happen more often. Automated systems do not make judgment calls the way people do. If something does not match, the system flags it. The February 1st rule change increases the likelihood that mismatched information will trigger a pause until verification is completed. This is why the SSA says the first step matters so much. It is also important to understand who this affects. This rule applies broadly across Social Security programs, including retirement benefits, disability benefits, and survivor benefits. It also touches people receiving supplemental security income when their eligibility depends on accurate income and resource reporting. While not everyone will feel an immediate impact, anyone could be affected if their records are incomplete or outdated. The SSA is not targeting specific individuals, but the system applies rules evenly once they are activated. Many seniors worry when they hear the words rule change. It often sounds like benefits are being taken away. That is not what is happening here. The monthly benefit amounts are not being reduced because of this rule. However, payments can be delayed if required steps are not completed. That distinction matters. The money is still owed, but access to it can be interrupted if the process is not followed. That is why preparation and understanding are so important. Another key point involves communication. The SSA relies heavily on mailed notices, phone contact, and official messages tied to your records. If your address is incorrect or your contact information is outdated, you may never see an important notice until it is too late. The February 1st rule change increases reliance on accurate communication. The agency expects beneficiaries to receive and respond to official requests in a timely way. When those requests go unanswered, even unintentionally, The system assumes non-compliance and pauses action until resolved. For many older adults, dealing with government paperwork can be stressful. The language can feel complicated and the process can feel intimidating. That is why it is important to remember that this rule is about prevention, not punishment. The SSA would rather confirm information now than fix a problem later. When errors happen after payments go out, they can lead to overpayments, clawbacks, and repayment demands that are far more stressful than a simple verification step. There is also a connection between this rule change and recent concerns about fraud. Scammers increasingly target seniors by impersonating government agencies. The SSA has responded by tightening verification standards and encouraging beneficiaries to rely only on official channels. While this script will not discuss external links or outside sources, the principle remains the same. The agency wants to make sure it is dealing directly with the right person. This protects beneficiaries as much as it protects the system. Another issue tied to the February 1st rule change is banking accuracy. Direct deposit is the primary method for Social Security payments. If bank information is incorrect, outdated, or mismatched with identity records, payments can bounce or be delayed. The SSA's systems are now more sensitive to these mismatches. That is why confirming banking details is part of the must do this first message. It is not about changing accounts unnecessarily, but about ensuring the existing information is correct. For people who manage benefits on behalf of someone else, such as a spouse, parent, or disabled family member, this rule is especially important. Representative payees and caregivers must ensure their information is accurate and current as well. When records involve more than one person, verification becomes even more important. A small error in one file can affect the entire payment process. It is also worth discussing how this rule intersects with stimulus-related conversations. While there are no new universal stimulus checks tied directly to this February 1st change, the broader context matters. Over the past few years, emergency payments and temporary programs increased attention on government benefits. That attention also increased attempts at fraud and misuse. The SSA is now operating in a more cautious environment. Verification rules are part of restoring stability and trust in the system. Some seniors may wonder whether this rule applies only once or whether it will continue. The reality is that this change sets a new standard going forward. February 1st marks the enforcement date, but the expectation of accurate, verified information will remain. This is not a temporary rule. It is a shift in how the SSA prioritizes verification before processing actions. Understanding this now helps avoid surprises later. Many benefit issues do not start with a dramatic notice. They start quietly, with a payment that does not arrive on time or a letter that says further action is required. By the time that happens, stress levels rise quickly. The goal of this explanation is to help prevent that moment by making expectations clear upfront. It is also important to recognize that the SSA is managing an enormous system. Millions of payments go out every month. Small percentages of errors still affect large numbers of people. By tightening rules uniformly, the agency aims to reduce those errors. That does not make individual experiences less frustrating, but it explains the motivation behind the change. As we move deeper into this discussion, the focus will remain on practical understanding. No complicated language, no technical jargon, and no unnecessary details. The goal is clarity. In the next part, we will continue breaking down what this rule means for monthly payments, what types of situations are most likely to trigger verification, and how seniors can stay ahead of problems without stress or confusion. This information is meant to support you, not overwhelm you, and everything will be explained step by step in plain English. As we continue, it is important to focus on how this February 1st Social Security rule change plays out in real life, not just in theory. Many seniors hear about rule changes and assume they only apply to people who are making changes or filing new claims. That assumption is one of the biggest reasons problems happen. This update affects ongoing benefits as well because it changes how the Social Security Administration confirms that everything on your records still matches reality. Even if nothing in your life feels different, the system may still require confirmation before it moves forward smoothly. One of the most common triggers under this new rule is a mismatch between records. This can happen in simple ways: a name spelled slightly differently on one document, an address that was updated with another agency but not with Social Security, or a bank account that was changed years ago but never fully confirmed, can all cause the system to pause. Before February 1st, some of these mismatches might have slipped through without immediate consequences. After February 1st, the SSA is less likely to ignore them. Monthly payments are at the center of most people's concerns, and rightly so. For retirees and disabled workers, Social Security checks are often the most reliable income they receive. The new rule does not change payment amounts and it does not reduce eligibility on its own. However, it does change the order in which things happen. Verification now comes before continuation in certain cases. If verification is incomplete, payment processing can be temporarily held until the record is cleared. This is especially important for people who recently experienced changes. A move to a new home, a switch in banks, a change in marital status, or even a change in who helps manage finances can all affect records. Sometimes people assume that because another government office knows about a change, Social Security automatically knows too. That is not always true. Each agency maintains its own system. The February 1st rule makes it more important than ever that Social Security's system is updated directly and accurately. Another area that deserves attention is income reporting for people receiving benefits that depend on financial limits. Supplemental security income, in particular, is sensitive to income and resources. Even small changes can affect eligibility. The SSA's updated approach places more emphasis on confirming reported information. If income records do not match what is on file, the system may stop and require clarification before proceeding. This can feel abrupt, but it is meant to prevent larger issues later, such as overpayments that must be repaid. Overpayments are one of the most stressful experiences for beneficiaries. They often come as a surprise, months or even years after the money was received. The SSA then asks for repayment, which can be financially devastating for someone on a fixed income. By enforcing verification earlier, the agency hopes to reduce these situations. From that perspective, the February 1st rule change is meant to protect seniors from future hardship, even though it may feel inconvenient in the moment. Another group that should pay close attention is people who receive benefits through a representative payee. When someone else manages benefits on your behalf, the accuracy of both records matters. The SSA now expects clearer confirmation that the payee relationship is still appropriate and that information for both parties is current. If records are outdated, payments can be delayed while the agency confirms details. This is not an accusation of wrongdoing. It is a safeguard built into the system. The rule change also intersects with how the SSA handles communication deadlines. Notices sent by the agency often require a response within a specific time frame. If a response is not received, the system assumes the issue remains unresolved. With the new rule in place, unresolved issues are more likely to affect payment flow. For many older adults, trust in Social Security is deeply personal. They paid into the system for years, sometimes decades, and they rely on it to function smoothly. When rules change, it can feel like that trust is being tested. It is important to remember that the purpose of this update is not to make life harder, but to keep the system reliable in a changing environment. Identity theft, financial scams, and administrative errors have become more common, and the SSA is responding to that reality. There is also an emotional component to these changes that should not be ignored. Seniors often worry that a small mistake could jeopardize their independence. Fear can lead people to avoid dealing with notices or to delay action because they feel unsure. This is understandable, but avoidance often makes situations worse. The February 1st rule makes clarity and follow-through more important than ever. Taking action early is the best way to protect peace of mind. It is worth noting that not everyone will experience direct contact from the SSA because of this rule. Many beneficiaries already have accurate, up-to-date records. For those individuals, the change may be invisible. Payments continue as usual and no additional steps are required. The challenge is that people do not always know whether their records fall into that category. That uncertainty is why understanding the rule is so important, even if nothing seems wrong right now. Another area affected by this rule is timing around benefit changes. When someone requests a change, such as updating direct deposit or reporting a life event, verification now happens earlier in the process. This can slightly extend processing times in some cases, but it also reduces the likelihood of errors. While waiting can be frustrating, accuracy is essential when dealing with fixed incomes and essential monthly payments. As we move forward, the key message remains consistent. The SSA wants beneficiaries to confirm first, then proceed. This sequence is central to the February 1st rule change. It applies whether you are updating information, responding to a notice, or simply ensuring your records remain current. The agency has made it clear that verification is no longer an optional step or a background task. It is now a priority.